So I made this big, bright and beautiful Hollywood vanity mirror, and this comes equipped with a USB outlet and a dimmer switch. So on this video I will show you step by step how I made it. Coming up. So I have right here a 1/2 inch sheet of pine plywood. These are pretty much all the cuts to be made. I started by making all the cuts with my circular saw. In the description you can find the links to a lot of the tools that I use for this project. Check them out. Once I finish all the long cuts, I jump to my miter saw to finish the rest of the cuts. In this channel, I'll be doing a lot of woodworking projects, and if you're new here, consider subscribing. As soon as I finished all the cuts, I started the assembly process. I glued these two pieces to make the base. Now I used a couple of brad nails while I clamped the base and left it to dry. Here I started to assemble the left and right boxes. I'm showing the dimensions so that you see what pieces go together. For the joining, I used glue and brad nails. These are the small pieces that I cut, and that's where they go. And this is how every box should look like before all the electrical work is done. Here I'm showing the lengths for the top and bottom boxes. The two smaller boxes go inside the two longer boxes. Here I'm using two scrap pieces of plywood and a 45-degree angle cut piece for the square of the entire thing. I made pocket holes to help me with the joining. These are the size of pocket screws I used. After that, I use wood screws at the end of the boxes to secure it better. Later, I place the mirror on top of the 45-degree angle cut to get the length from the mirror to the top face in order to cut the trim that will help keep the mirror in place. And for me, it was 1.5 inches. So I moved on to cutting the trim using my table saw and miter saw. After that, I used glue and a couple of brad nails. As you can see, in between the 45s and the trim, there is a space, and that is where the mirror will be placed. Later, I focused on making some holes on the back covers with a 38mm Forstner drill bit, and this will allow me to remove the covers if I ever need to replace a socket, dimmer switch, or USB outlet. I also made an extra hole in the middle of the bottom cover for the replacement quarter to pass through. Then I started sanding the entire thing with a 60 grit sandpaper, and this is where any unevenness can be fixed by just sanding it. Once I finished sanding it with a 60 grit, I used wood filler to fill any nail holes or gaps, and after that I sanded everything with a 120 grit sandpaper. Once everything was sanded, I started making the socket holes with a 35mm Forstner drill bit. In here you see me using a template that I already had for faster production. As soon as I drilled all the holes where the sockets will be placed, I started making the holes for the electrical boxes. I drew a center mark where I wanted the electrical box to be located. After that, I also marked on the edge of each electrical box the center and aligned it with the marks I had already drawn on the vanity. And then I used the electrical box to trace around it. Then I just made some holes and used my jigsaw to cut the rectangles. After I got that done, I started painting the entire vanity. I used bare snowy pine paint. I did a total of 3 coats with a 320 grit sanding in between each coat once dry. I also spray painted the part of each socket that will be shown on the outside of the vanity. Once the painting was done, I moved on to the electrical work. I must state that I am not a certified electrician. Previous to this project, I had no clue on what I was doing when it came down to the electrical work. But I did ask a couple of electricians on how to wire and what cables to use. I suggest you do your own research before wiring anything and become familiar. I started by making some holes on the end of each of the boxes for the cables to go through. All of the material that I used for this project, you can find it on the links in the description. Here I'm measuring and cutting the length of the cable that I'm using all around. The cable that I'm using came twisted and I had to untangle it to take off the fabric to reveal its white and black color and make it easier on me when it came down to the wiring. After that, from each end of the cable I took off around half an inch of each cable sheet to expose some of the wire. The black wire will be twisted around the gold screw, and the white wire will be twisted around the silver screw. When continuing the series, you're going to twist 2 ends of the black wire together and wrap it around the gold screw and the white ones with the silver screw. After I secured the electrical boxes in place, I started by wiring the replacement cord to the USB outlet. I used this green cable that will be used as ground. I measured the distance between the outlet and the dimmer to get the length. Right here I'm connecting the green cable with the green cable from the replacement cord and twisting it around the green screw from the USB outlet. Later I measured the distance between the outlet and the dimmer to get the length for the white and black cable. I connected both white cables, the one from the replacement core and the one that I cut, to the silver screw from the USB outlet. I also did the same to the black cable put into the gold screw, white with silver and black with gold. After that, I connected the white wire from the outlet to the white wire coming from the light socket. Then the green wire from the USB outlet to the green wire from the dimmer switch. Then the black wire from the outlet to the black wire from the dimmer switch. And finally, the red wire from the dimmer to the black wire from the light socket. Now notice how there's two red wires? I only used the one that did not have the warning sticker on. Sometimes the cable is white and red as well with no sticker on. Here, I'm only using glue sticks to secure the sockets to the vanity. At the end I placed the back covers and the vanity was pretty much done. I did not film this, but I drilled some holes from the bottom of the base to the bottom of the vanity and put some black screws to keep the base in place. And that's it for this video. Thanks so much for checking it out. Hit the like button if you thought this was valuable and consider subscribing. Until next time.